Well, good morning. I'm Bart Keff. I'm one of your pastors here at Coppell Bible Fellowship. We're just so delighted that you're joining us this morning. We also want to encourage you to come see us in person sometime soon at either a 9 or a 10:45 service. I hope you enjoy our worship as we step into worship even now. Thank you.
Psalm 34. I sought the Lord, and He answered me, and delivered me from every fear. Those who look on Him are radiant, they'll never be ashamed, they'll never be ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard me, and He saved me from my enemy. The Son of God surrounds His saints, will deliver them, will deliver them.
may be seated. My name is Michael. I'm one of the pastors here at Coppell Bible. Excited for this opportunity to be with you all this morning. If you are a guest, I want to welcome you specifically to our church. And I also want you to know I'll be in the lobby after this message. I would love to introduce myself to you, get to know you a little bit, your name, shake your hand, those things. I would just love to meet you. And I'll be out there after this message. Well, as you can tell by the slide, we're in a sermon series covering parables. Now, a parable is just a communication tool that Jesus used to teach. And in essence, a parable on one hand is an earthly story, on the other, has some heavenly meanings. Now, I don't know if you're like me, there are plenty of times where I open up the Bible, it could be like a devotion, maybe I'm just, need a little something, trying to find something, what do you have for me today? And I go and I read something in the Bible, and I get done, and I shut the Bible, and I think, I have no idea what I just read. Has anyone else been there before, or is it just me? Yeah, and if you haven't, it's for two reasons. One, you don't have a Bible, and if you don't, come find me after church, I'll get you one. Or the second is you're a liar, and the Bible talks about you, okay? And you need to know what it says about you. No, I'm kidding. No matter where you're at, though, on your spiritual journey, there's been plenty of times you've opened up the Bible, whether it's your first time or if you've opened it up so many times it's fallen apart. But you've come across a text, and you read it, and you go, I have no idea. Did God know that part's in there? Did he forget about that part? What we're going to see today in our parable is the disciples are going to understand the earthly story part very well. Oh yeah, they're going to get that. But the heavenly meaning and the spiritual insights, they can't see it all. But what they show us is a great demeanor and attitude that we need to have. Because after Jesus says this parable, they're clueless. But they don't, like me at times, go, I don't have any more time today, so I'll just read some tomorrow, and maybe it'll be good, and whatever, we'll just keep it there. No, they go to Jesus, and they say, Jesus, we need you. Teach us. Help us. Explain this to us. We hunger to know the spiritual truths in this parable, but we need you to reveal them to us. What a beautiful principle to take home today. And here at the beginning of the service, I'm going to challenge us with it. That every time we come to the Word of God, we pray before it or during it or after it, or probably all three is best case scenario. And we ask him to reveal what's in here to us. And so to put that principle into practice, I'm going to pray and ask the Lord to bless our time this morning. Pray with me. God, this is your word. This is true. It is alive. You tell me this is profitable for me. You tell me I need to know it because it will renew my mind. It'll help me be transformed into the person you want me to be. But I need your help to understand it. So I'm coming to you to ask that you give all of us this morning eyes, not just to see words on a page or words on a screen, but give us the spiritual insight to read between the lines, to see the spiritual realities you have for us that you don't just want us to know, but you also want us to grow in. And then give us the confidence to share it with the world around us. So we're asking you to teach this morning. We're inviting you here, and we give you the glory for what you're about to do in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, the disciples are going to hear a parable, and the parable they're confused about is found in Matthew chapter 13. And in Matthew chapter 13, there's a parable called the parable of the wheat and the tares. And that is a very enticing title, if I do say so myself. No, I would not go to opening night of that movie. No one would. That movie would make no money at the box office. Luckily, it wasn't written for our time. It was written for their time, and it probably would have made money at the box office. And so we're going to look at this parable of the wheat and the tares. Matthew starts it out in verse 24 of chapter 13. He says, another parable that he, being Jesus, put forth. And this is what Jesus said. This is straight from his lips. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? So he says back to him, An enemy has done this. So the servants say, Well, do you want us to go and gather up those tares? And he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Parable over. And the disciples are going, James, you have any idea what he's talking about? Me either. Where's Peter? Peter likes to talk. Peter, you got anything for us? I'm clueless, man. They're clueless. They have no idea. Now, they would have understood the earthly story, because to them, the earthly story would have been almost like a dad passing down wisdom to a kid. It's time for them to work. Obviously, agriculture was massive then. Wheat wasn't just food for daily bread. Wheat was what you bartered with. It was monetary. It was needed in their society. And so, can you imagine when the time came, the son or the dad will get the son and say, come with me real quick. And they walk out and he says, you see this field here? That's our field. This is the only one we got. We want to take care of it. And we also have this really good seed here. It's going to produce a great wheat. And I'm going to show you how to sow it. And this is how you do it. And then you're going to take care of it. And it'll get the nutrients it needs, the water, the sunlight. It'll get everything it needs. And you're going to be so excited when you see this little itty bitty green sprout start to come up. But it's not ready to pick yet. Don't pick it. Let it grow. Let it continue to grow. But what you need to watch out for, though, is what could grow with it. Because there'll be weeds and other things that grow with it. You got to watch out for those. There'll even be some tares that look identical to the wheat. In fact, it's called darnel. And darnel mimics wheat. It looks identical outside of one little black spot on it. And you won't know, you won't recognize it. You're too young, but over time you will, where you'll be able to call it out. Well, Dad, can I just go grab that then, since it's not, it's not useful? There's nothing pretty about it, nothing it can do for us, no benefit to it. Can I just go grab it? No, son. No, I love your energy, and trust me, there'll be a day where I'll let you go grab all of them. It's not this day. Why? Well, because that wheat lookalike, that darnel, it likes to get its roots intertwined with the wheat. And if you pull up that, well, you're pulling up the wheat, and the wheat wasn't ready yet, so it's wasted. You got to wait. You got to let it grow and mature. Okay, then what? Well, once the wheat is ready to be harvested, then we can go and pull out all the weeds, pull out all the tares, pull out all the darnel. And at that point, we will then take all this waste, this useless, of no value, weeds and tares and darnel, and we'll throw them away. But we won't just keep them thrown away because I don't want the wind blowing them back, because there's no value. So what we're going to do is set them on fire to burn them. We don't want them here anymore. And we'll do that. And then it will be time to pick the wheat up. And once you pick the wheat up, we'll take it into the barn. And, well, whenever it's time of the season for that, I'll tell you what we're supposed to do once we get in the barn. But do you understand what I'm saying, son? Yeah, Dad? I got it. I can do this. So no doubt the disciples would have understood perfectly this parable. Whether they themselves were the dad teaching the son, or they were the son being taught, or they know it was their cousins, they've just heard this. They know the insights into the agriculture. But what they didn't understand were the heavenly insights that the Lord put in this story. And so they come to him and they say, can you explain this to us? Well, we need your help. And Jesus does in fact explain it. In chapter 13, verse 37, here's the explanation. He answered and said to them, he who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Now, if I would have been a disciple then, and Jesus would have just explained this to me, and when I realized he's done, I would have been like, great. Can you now give me a more like dummied down version of your explanation? Because now you added characters into the story, and I'm supposed to connect these dots, and I need a glossary. Can I just get a glossary? And so for me studying this, I actually came up with a glossary, and I have it for us because I want us to look at it, just to know it, just to have it. Because we'll be looking at it as we go through the rest of the story. Here's what he's saying. The sower in the story, this is Jesus, the Son of Man. He's speaking of himself. The field in this story is the world. The good seeds in the explanation, also the wheat in the parable, they're the sons of the kingdom. The tares, the weeds, they are the sons of the wicked one. The one who sowed that, the enemy, that's the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. So that is the glossary. And here's what you need to know about this parable. There is actually one specific point to this parable, and it's not a fun one to preach on Sunday morning. There is a specific point, but there are also spiritual insights that we'll look at after the specific point. But I want you to know the purpose of the parable. The purpose of the parable is to tell us that eternal separation is coming. That there will be a day where there is eternal separation. In the story, you have two groups and two groups only. In the parable, it was the wheat and the tares. In the explanation, it was the sons of the kingdom and the sons of the wicked. So the question, and then the sons of the kingdom, we know they're going to be in the barn in the parable, that is in the kingdom. The sons of the wicked, we know they're going to go get burned up. The separation is real, and it's going to happen, and those two groups will be separated forever. And when the day comes that those groups are separated, there's no changing. It's done forever. And Jesus wants this point to be known. So the question I have is, I doubt anyone here is like, seems like it turns out pretty good. I want to be a son of the wicked one. I doubt anyone here is thinking that. But what you might be thinking is, I don't want to be a son of the wicked, but how do I become a son of the kingdom? And when I say son of the kingdom, it's son or daughter of the kingdom. You could even say you're in the kingdom. You're a citizen of the kingdom. How does that happen? If this is the separation that is coming, that Jesus is adamant about teaching, that there's only two groups, this group ends up with him forever, how does that happen? If you come to our church, you could, for any length of time, you could probably get up on this stage and quote many verses that would tell you exactly how that happens. But how you become a son of a kingdom is you take Jesus at his word. And you can take it like at this verse, John 6:47. When Jesus says, most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me has everlasting life. That is, will be in the everlasting kingdom with me. It's that. It's that simple. You know, there's nothing in the Bible that says believe in Jesus and. There's not. The Bible doesn't say believe in Jesus, and read your Bible. If it did say that, my next question would be, okay, how often? How much? Do I have to read Numbers and Leviticus? Those would be the questions I would ask. And I would hope the answer is no in the last two. It doesn't say read your Bible. That's what's going to help. It doesn't say believe in Jesus and go to church. Like Jesus and God are going, okay, let's think about it. We created it where there's 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so times are different than they were here. Take a lot of vacation time. So weekends are gone. Let's call it 45. No. We forgot about select team sports. So they're going to be gone on weekends. Let's call it 41. Let's throw them a bone. 39. 39 out of 52 weeks. You come to church, you're good. You're in. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say believe in Jesus and give everything. It doesn't say believe in Jesus and give one thing. It's Jesus plus nothing. That's what it is. Believing in him. If there was anything we could do to get entrance into the kingdom, Jesus wouldn't have had to have died. There's nothing we can do. And if you think there's something you can do to add to it, to make sure that you are going to be in the kingdom, you know what you're doing? You're slapping Jesus in the face while he's dying on the cross for you. Thank you for this. This is awesome and needed, but I want to make sure. And so I know you're good and awesome and perfect, but like, I'm kind of cool too and kind of awesome. Let me do some works to make sure that, you're doing enough, but I just want to add to it. Got to make sure. No, that's not it. It's not Jesus plus anything. It's believing in him for this free gift of everlasting life. The point of this parable is one day there will be a separation. And the simple categories are this. Those who believe in Jesus for the gift of everlasting life will be in the kingdom. Those who don't, won't. That's it. Now, there are other spiritual insights in this parable. There are things that I think are pertinent to the here and now. As we know, this parable speaks of separation that is coming, obviously hasn't happened yet. But it will, and we need to know that. But what about the here and now? Well, let me change my tune now. Works are unbelievably important. Not for entrance into the kingdom, but for your experience once you get there, but also for your experience here and now. See, it's only through faith in Jesus that gets you there, but that's not where he wants to keep you. He doesn't want you just to have the free gift of everlasting life and then never grow from it. He wants you to have the gift of everlasting life and know you're there no matter what, and then out of this freedom, be able to live this life back to him and to be able to grow in him. And when you place your faith in Jesus for everlasting life, do you know what happens based on this parable? Jesus has planted you in this world. That's what it says. Jesus has planted you in this world. The question is, why? Why would he plant me in this world? Why not just take me? I believe in you, and now you just take me away because it's good and evil. It's hard. What am I supposed to do? It's not fun sometimes. Why? Well, why can't you just pull the tares up even though you pull me up? No. If you caught it in the parable, he says they're not to be pulled up because he wants them to grow. There's a purpose for you here. There's a plan for you here. And it's a plan that allows you to walk out the fullness that he has for you in this life. So works are unbelievably important for getting the most out of this life. But here's what's interesting. Jesus planted you here in this world. He has a plan for you, and we talk about it all the time. He has a plan for you as a husband, as a father, as a worker, to be a great neighbor. You know who else has a plan for you? The one who sowed the tares around you. The devil. Do you ever thought about that? The devil has a plan for you. It's kind of wild to think about. That in the same way, Jesus has a plan for you to be the father you're supposed to be, and the husband and the wife and the worker and all those things. The devil also has a plan for how he wants you to father. The devil also has a plan for how he wants you to work or not work. He has a plan for you, and it's not going to be a good plan. Jesus tells us in John 10:10 that he came so that we may have life. We may have this abundant life. But he also tells us that the thief came to steal, kill, and destroy. See, Satan knows he can't win. He knows that. He knows what Jesus accomplished on the cross. He knows a separation is coming at some point. He can't win, but you know what he can do? He can plant tares all around you to distract you. He can plant all these tares around you to take the nutrients away from you so you're not effective. And he's really good at it. He wants to plant so many tares around you, all you see are bad things. You don't see the Lord anywhere, and you wonder if he's even around. When I left for college, my family lived in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And Tahlequah, Oklahoma is the Cherokee Nation capital. And so I had a bunch of friends, 100% Cherokees. I used to hear these stories all the time. There's a story of a rite of passage for a boy becoming a man. Step one, the boy goes off hunting by himself, and when he hunts, he ends up killing something. And the bigger the thing, the more they'd celebrate. They'd come back and they'd eat and they'd have a feast, but it wasn't over yet. What would you do with the carcass? The other warriors, the dad, the boy, they would drag that carcass through the woods and find the darkest, deepest place they could find and put it there. And then the warriors would grab the son and they would move him over here so far away from the carcass, and they'd say, you have to sit here all night. And then they would blindfold him. Now you can imagine, depending on what part of America these Indians were at, they would have either, you can imagine bobcats, or you can imagine wolves, or you can imagine mountain lions. And he's hearing this. He can't see. It's darkness all around him. He's hearing the snarls. He's hearing the cackles. He's hearing the flesh and bones rip and break. And he could pull the blind up and take off running. I don't want to be a man. I can't do it. Or he could stay there. And he could just stay, and even though it's not fun, he could just think and know and hope maybe I'll be okay. And then all of a sudden the light starts to come over the horizon. It's the sun, and he feels it kind of warming up his body as it works its way to his face. And when it got to his face, he's able to take off the blindfold. And when he does, he realizes his dad never left his side. Daddy wasn't going to let anything happen. This story Jesus talks about, there are tares that are going to be planted around you because the devil wants to thwart you. He's going to try to blind you to what Jesus' plan is. He's going to try to put you in a dark place. And some of you are there right now. We've all experienced life. We know what a dark place is. Some of us have just got out of one. Some of us are going in one. Some of us are in the middle of one. It's not fun. But you know what? Jesus never left you. Not once. He's right there with you. And in this story, it tells us this, that yes, he has planted us in this world, and yes, the enemy is going to come and sow tares to try to take away from this experience in this life. And so the devil has a plan for you, and he hopes you follow it, not Jesus's. And from time to time we do that, don't we? Listen, I'm up here as a pastor, but there are plenty of times that I want to have a lot of fruitful stuff going on in my life, but all of a sudden these weeds start creeping up. And we got some weeds you can't kill. Hebrews 12 talks about a sin that so easily entangles. How often do you let it tangle and trip you up? We all have it. Here's what's interesting. There's a story in the Bible that we all know pretty well, even if you didn't grow up in church. And Jesus is talking to Peter, calling him Simon Peter in this story. And he says this, Simon, Simon, indeed, Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat. Hey, I got a plan for you, Peter, but Satan has one as well. And then this is what Jesus says, but I have prayed for you. And I prayed that your faith should not fail. He doesn't want you to follow the plan that Satan has for you. But ironically, Jesus knows that Peter is going to follow the plan that Satan has for him. And so he follows up that statement by saying this, and when you have returned to me, strengthen your brethren, because you are the rock upon which this church will start. You are going to be my mouthpiece, but you right now are about to go this way. But I'm praying for you that your faith would be strong, but I still know you're going to go this way. Listen, Peter, I have a plan for you, but the devil does too, and you're about to go down his path. But when you have returned, and that's the most important part. The question I have for you right now, which path are you living on? Sure, there's areas of our life that we're allowing Jesus to speak into, and we're living out that plan, but we all know areas that we're not. What are the areas that we are holding on to? The areas we're like, no, don't touch that. Don't want that. Don't lead me there. I don't want it. You can't, no, do not enter. Here's what I also know. There's some of us who have gone down that path for so long, we think Jesus doesn't have a plan for us at all. But did you hear the encouragement in the text? When you return. That means it's possible. That means you can come back to him. That means you can now get back on the right track and begin living out the life here and now for him, walking out his plan. And you know what? You're going to be stronger for it. Tares all around you, but you're still growing strong. You're not letting them take the nutrients from your life. You're not letting them take the experiences from your life. You're not letting them steal, kill, and destroy your life because you've been there, done that, don't want to do it again. And so you have this head knowledge and this heart experience of going, it's time. It's time for me to learn my lesson and to come back to him. It's time for me to return to him and to begin walking out this plan that he has for me. And don't we know that this world needs us to walk out the plan Jesus has for us? The world doesn't want, I would say the world might want us to walk out the plan that Satan has, but we can't. We can't do that. We can't be people who veer too far. The world needs us. It's too important. We've got to be people who walk out this plan. And the opportunity will come for you, even today, because we're talking about it. And so it means it's going to happen. You're going to experience it this week. That your heart begins to flutter a little bit. There's something the Lord's leading you to do. Just go do it. Follow this plan that he has for you. The world needs it because at some point there will be a separation. And there's opportunities until then for you to get as many people as you can on this side. the side that simply believes in Jesus for the gift of everlasting life. The ones who aren't, they're going to be in eternal damnation. And we have the opportunity to not just get them there, we have the opportunity to change their life and their family's life forever. In fact, there's a story of a guy y'all don't know. I don't even really know him that well. His name's Russell. I think it's Russell Thomas. Russell Thomas is a guy who was junior, senior in high school in the 70s, saw this little ninth grade guy. Ninth grade guy was a partier. In fact, the ninth grade guy I read, he said he wanted to most nights go to the IGA parking lot, which means this is a story in the South because that's IGA's. Younger folks don't know what that is, but it is a convenience store. And at the IGA parking lot, he wanted to go, quote, score some booze. And most nights he did. Ninth grader, trying to find life. Not following the Lord, didn't even care about the Lord. Russell Thomas, a junior, senior, was like, man, I see something in that guy. His name's John. I see something in it. Maybe I'll go talk to John. No, I'm not going to do it. Finally, he gets the courage. He goes and he talks to John. John's like, get away from me, dude. I don't want what you have. It's not fun. There's no life in that. Is it rules? Is that all it is? I'm out. Okay. And then Russell feels the prompting again. Okay. And over the course of a few weeks, John's like, I'm going to get my friends to beat you up if you don't leave me alone. Like, this is not fun. It's creepy. Finally, he stays so persistent that John goes, fine, I'll go to church this one time. And you guys know where this is going. I'll go to church this one time. Just this once, though, just to get you off my case. So John goes to church just one time. Got saved. Wow, what is this? I have all these questions about life, and I'm starting to find answers and meaning and purpose, and what in the world? John totally changes everything. He then goes to the IGA parking lot to start inviting his other friends to church. They start saying, leave me alone or I'm going to beat you up. Well, John then goes to his home. Mom, Dad, we've got to start going to church. Well, his parents used to go to church, but they didn't really care for it much anymore. He convinces them. Their son's like, let's go. They're like, okay. Well, after time, all of a sudden, the sisters and the brother end up going to church. And what you know it, the whole family comes to faith. As they all graduate high school and go off into the workforce, John becomes a chaplain in the military. One of his brothers, I think, ends up being like a worship pastor, music minister. One becomes a sister becomes a teacher at a Christian school who coach basketball. They all go into the ministry. And then their kids after them all start doing going into the ministry. And then John meets this lady while they're in college, and they fall in love. And a few months after they fall in love, they get married. A few months later, they have a baby. Baby came 3 months early. Tears all around them. Darkness. What are we going to do? The baby weighed 1.5 pounds, had a collapsed lung, didn't look like it was going to make it. Lord, I thought that's what you have for me. Are you here? Have you left me? But they were just following the plan and trusting in him. 8 weeks later, baby comes home. Almost a year later, they get a call. Hey, do you want to adopt a kid? We're in college. We don't want to adopt a kid. We didn't even want to have one in the first place, but we did. We're trying to finish school. We don't want to adopt a kid, but they feel that thing. Maybe we are. And they do. A few years later, they adopt another kid. A few years later, they adopt another kid. A few years later, they adopt another kid. And a few years later, they adopt another kid. Crazy family. All because this one guy, Russell, was persistent with this and walking out the plan that God had for him, even though there was tears all around and even though he felt blind at times and didn't feel like the Lord wanted him to do it. And man, am I thankful for Russell, because that was my adoptive dad. He was just faithful. And now I get the chance to be here. My mom was a prostitute. I'm not supposed to be here. The Lord's faithful. And he has a plan. And now, you see that? Adorable. I have a family. I have 3 girls, which means a massive wedding fund coming my way. And I'm trusting the Lord with that. Jubilee, who's 8, who's come to faith. I got to baptize. Joy, who's 3, not quite there yet, but we're praying for her. And we also have Jovi, who's almost a year old. Never talked to Russell. I wish I could. See, Yes, there's judgment. It's coming. There's a separation. It's coming, but it's not here yet. But you know what is? You. And people around you who, if the judgment came, they would be on the wrong side of it. But you're here. You're the wheat. God has a plan for you. When you feel it, go do it. You can change so many lives because of it.
Well, I hope you're encouraged this morning by the word and our worship, and I hope we get to see you before too long here in person at one of our services, 9 or 10:45. Have a fantastic week.